Greetings, dearly beloved. Sometimes we end up in places where we don't want to be, and it's not our fault. In the Holy Bible, in Second Chronicles and chapter 28, specifically verses 1 to 15, we read of an evil king. This wasn't uncommon. Sadly, there were more evil kings than good kings, but there was an evil king called King Ahaz. He began to reign when he was 16 years old, and he didn't do that which was right in the sight of God. And so God sent a king. It was the king of Syria. Praise God. He sent the king of Syria to carry him away captive. Now, not only did the king get carried away captive, but there were also people who was in that kingdom who was carried away captive as well. And no doubt there would have been people who actually were living righteously, just like when Daniel and the three Hebrew boys were carried away to Babylon. They wasn't unrighteous, but because the king at the time was unrighteous, which caused them to be led into captivity, they were sadly taken away too. And so sometimes, just by association, we can end up suffering because of other people's sins. Maybe you live with ungodly people and they've been just borrowing money that they shouldn't have been, and now the bailiffs are at their house, and it's causing you to be uneasy, and it's disturbing you. Maybe you live with people and they're always playing the music really, really loud, and they're playing ungodly music. Maybe it's you can feel in the different things that you are going through, praise God, that is causing you to be carried away, that's causing you to suffer, that's causing you to feel like you are not in your promised land, but rather making you feel like you are in Babylon. I really want to encourage you with these scriptures, praise God, in Second Chronicles in chapter 28. It reads, specifically verse 15, "And the men which were expressed by name rose up and took the captives, and with the spoil clothed all that were naked among them, and arrayed them, and shod them, and gave them to eat and to drink, and anointed them, and carried all the feeble of them upon asses, and brought them to Jericho, the city of palm trees, to their brethren. Then they returned to Samaria." So they were on their way, they were being escorted from their promised land to this ungodly land. And whilst they were being transported to the ungodly land, the people who had taken them captive decided to I don't know if it's the people taken, sorry, let me check. Okay, the people who were of the same nation who had taken them captive started to dress those who were naked, started to anoint them, started to give them something to eat and to give them something to drink, and carried them, especially the weak ones. They put them on asses and they brought them to the city of palm trees. That reminds me of shade, especially if we don't know what month this was, but if it was hot, I could just imagine them really enjoying the shade from the palm trees. And this is what they did, praise God, in the midst of the situation. And this is unheard of. This is not normal. People don't take prisoners and then when they're escorting them on the way to prison, then all of a sudden treat them really nicely and give them food to drink and clothes and anoint them with oil and give them transportation. If they're weak, they're too weak to go back, give them transportation. But this is the God that we serve. He is limitless, praise God. There is nothing that he cannot do. He can turn your situation around in ways that you completely didn't expect, and he can turn it around at times that you didn't expect. You might have thought that well, I would have thought that they would have gone to prison first and then maybe been there for a while and their sentence would have been shorter. That's still grace. That's still mercy. Them not getting what they deserve. They deserved a certain amount of time, but they get a shorter amount of time. But no, we see that God is abundant in mercy. God is abundant in grace. And while they were on their way to prison, they were on their way to prison as such. They were on their way to a land of captivity. That God turned their situation around completely and allowed them to go back to the promised land. And no doubt there were also people there who were sinners, praise God. And so this I know I did it specifically for when it's not your situation, but just in case anyone, not your fault, but if anybody has clicked on this and you're in Babylon and it is your fault, God can still help you and turn your situation around, praise God. But we see here that it didn't specifically mention that there was righteous people, but I just wanted to encourage you for those who are in situations and it's not their fault. And the Holy Bible also says that when you suffer for something that isn't your fault and you take it well, then God is pleased with that, because if you take your punishment and you deserved it, well, so do the heathens. That's exactly the same. It's like if you say hello to those who only say hello to you, or if you show love to those who only show love to you, then don't the heathens do the same thing? But what you should do is take it well, and you should love your enemies and pray for those people who despitefully use you and bless those people who curse you. And so when we are in a situation that isn't our fault, we should still take it well, praise God, and be encouraged that God can turn our situation around. And when it isn't your fault, he definitely will turn your situation around, praise God. And if it is your fault, pray and humble yourself, and God will exalt you in due season and turn your situation around, praise God. God bless you.